Good morning, everyone. I'm going to read a chapter or maybe a couple of chapters of Max and the Millions. I have to point out I have permission from Faber Publications, the children's publisher. I needed to get that before I could read it to you. Max and the Millions, the author is Ross Montgomery. He's also given me permission. And the illustrator is David Litchfield at Faber. So, been reading this to the class. We've got to chapter 17. The Millions, the Greens have attacked the Blues. We don't know what's happening with the Reds. Max and Sasha have become good friends, we think. Their task is to try and take the cities, the small people, back to their dorm. Because Mr. Darrow's dorm is not safe. Because we don't know whether the head teacher, Mr. Pitt... You'll get it. And the kids get it, which I guess is most important. So, off we go. Chapter 17. Max, look! Sasha was pointing at the model castle. I can see two blue people, right there, at the top of the big tower. Max squinted. He could just about make them out, too. Two blues, standing beside the flagpole and talking to each other at super fast speed. Hey, it's the king we saw earlier, said Max. And that's the old man. It looks like he's in a cage. He paused. Except, I don't think he's wearing any clothes. Sasha made to step forward, but Max stopped him. Don't! We might frighten them. We can't let them run off like the others. I've got an idea. He grabbed the microscope goggles from the desk. I'll see if I can lip read what they're saying with these. Maybe we'll get some clues about what's going on. Sasha was impressed. You can lip read? Max blinked. Well, yeah, of course. I have to. I've been doing it my whole life. So you can tell what people are saying, even if they're far away? Max shook his head. It's not that easy. You have to be able to see the mouth clearly, and even if you can, it's still easy to make mistakes. But Sasha was still amazed. Cool. It's like you have a superpower. Max flushed with pride. Well, I guess it's kind of like a superpower. He pulled on the goggles, still blushing, and turned back to the castle. The tiny boy swung into view. It was the first time Max had seen the king up close. He could make out every strand of his bright blue hair and the exact shade of his bright blue eyes and the grains of sand that dusted his robes. And that wasn't all he could see. Sasha tapped him on the shoulder. Can you see him? Max paused. Yeah. He's looking this way. Oh, said Sasha. What's he doing? Max sought to find the right words. He's waving at us. Luke, what are you doing? Luke stood at the tower's edge, waving at the giants. What does it look like I'm doing? I'm getting their attention. It was working. The first giant was staring down at him through his great stalk eyes. Luke could see each blink captured in slow motion through the glass, like the petals of a flower closing. His attention? Cried Malcolm. Why do you want his attention? He's demon. He's a monster who wants to destroy the world. Luke shook his head. I don't think he is demon. He could have squashed me in a heartbeat earlier if he wanted to. Both of them could have. They're not monsters. I think they're something else. Like what? Luke shrugged. I'm going to find out. He stepped back, took a deep breath, and spoke as loudly as he could. Greetings, giant! I'm Luke, King of the Blues. Do you understand me? Malcolm was horrified. Luke, stop! We have to tell them what's happened, Malcolm. They might be the only ones who can help us. Greetings, giant. I am Luke, King of the Blues. Do you understand me? Giant stared at him blankly through the lenses. Luke could see that he was struggling to make sense of what he was saying. Luke gritted his teeth. He had to keep trying. He spoke again, moving his mouth as slowly as possible. Greetings, giant. I am Luke, King of the Blues. Technically, Your Highness, you're not King of the Blues until after the coronation ceremony. So, Malcolm, yes, shut up. Greetings, giant. I am Luke, King of the Blues. Do you understand me? Greetings, giant. I am... Max couldn't believe it. Hey, his lips are moving. He's trying to talk to us. Sasha gasped. No way. What's he saying? Max squinted. And then his face fell. I don't know. He's talking too fast. It's like trying to read a river. Sasha groaned. What about the old man? Is he talking? Max shook his head. He's got a beard. That makes it even harder to read his lips. Sasha studied the goggles. What if you zoomed in on their mouths? Would that make it easier? Max was unconvinced. Mr. Darrow never taught me how to zoom in. Well, one of those buttons has to do something. There's loads of them, said Sasha. Look, there's one with an X on it. Like the one on your hearing aids. Why don't we try it? Max shifted uncomfortably. I'm not sure we should be pressing anything. Sasha, we're supposed to be looking after Mr. Darrow's things for him. Not... Sasha jabbed the button and Max jumped. What did you do that for? Well, we've got to try something. So? You could have broken them, said Max. And the goggles haven't zoomed in. They've just... Max trailed off. A fly had flown past. It was magnified hugely through the goggles. Max could see every hair on its body, every bump on the surface of its eyes. He could also see that it was barely moving. The fly hung suspended in the air, each beat of its wings moving with the grace of a ballerina. Standing on its back were 20 green soldiers, pointing at Max and screaming in terror. But the tiny soldiers weren't super fast anymore. They all moved at normal speed. Lesson 1. Turn your phone off when you're reading. Sorry about that. Max took off the goggles. The fly buzzed to the other side of the room in a flash. What's wrong? Said Sasha. Have I broken them? Max handed the goggles to Sasha, grinning from ear to ear. See for yourself. Sasha pulled the goggles on and his mouth fell open. No way! Max nodded with excitement. They're not just microscope goggles. They also slow everything down. Mr. Darrow must have added that button so he could see at the same speed as the tiny people. Sasha handed the goggles back to Max. How about now? Can you read their lips? Max pulled the goggles back on and focused on the boy's face. All the boy's movements were slowed down now. Even better, he was speaking clearly enough for Max to understand what he was saying. Yes, it's working. He's calling me Giant. And his name is Luke. He's the King of the Blues. He's asking if we understand him. Tell him our names, said Sasha excitedly. Good idea. Max cleared his throat. Hello, Luke. My name is Max. And this is Sasha. We're roommates. There was a pause. Did it work? Said Sasha. What's he saying? Max watched for a while. My ears, for Great One's sake, my ears. Malcolm, calm down. Demon is trying to kill us all with his bellowing voice. I told you he's not trying to kill us. My ears, look. Giant, you're going to have to talk quicker or something. We can't understand a word you're saying. I think I've gone deaf. Oh, shut up, Malcolm. Sasha grimaced. Well, at least now we know the other one's called Malcolm. Max pulled off the goggles. It's no use. Everything about us must be super slow to them, including our voices. He stared down at the tiny boy on the tower. We have to keep him talking. It's our only chance of finding out what's happened. But how can we show him we understand? How can we talk to him without using our voices or... And then Max realises what he had to do. Luke's head was reeling. It was the second time he'd been shouted at by Giant, and he hadn't enjoyed it the first time. The force of Giant's voice had blasted his hair into spikes, and Malcolm's beard was in even worse shape. It looked like he'd gone to a costume party, dressed as a hedge, and got beaten up on the way. "Luke, what's he doing? I can't see a thing." Malcolm was trying to make a hole in his beard big enough to see through, without success. Luke gazed up at Giant, groggily. He's holding one hand to his head, he said. That was it. Giant was sitting there with one hand cupped around his ear, looking at Luke expectantly. "Luke, this is ridiculous," said Malcolm. "He clearly doesn't understand a word you're saying. Stop talking to him and get us out of here." Luke kept his eyes fixed on Giant. "No, it's like he's trying to tell us something. It's like he's saying..." And suddenly, Luke understood. His face broke into a big smile. "He wants me to keep talking. He wants to know what's going on." Luke laughed in amazement. He never thought it would happen, but there it was. For the first time in his life, he's listening. He's listening.